Science fiction is here in Magic the Gathering with the Edge of Eternities set, but I would argue that science fiction has actually been in Magic all along. I personally love how Magic the Gathering lore feels like it incorporates both magic and technology into settings and planes in the story. I'm thrilled to have a sci-fi setting and story with Edge of Eternities, but I also feel like there have already been many sci-fi elements in Magic, and you know, I can make any topic into a science discussion, so let's chat about some specific examples of science fiction themes and topics already in Magic the Gathering. And we can talk about how thrilled and excited we are for the Edge of Eternities set. To help me, I'm here with fellow sci-fi lover and Magic the Gathering expert, Kuro.
Hello everyone, I am Kuro Hitsuki. I am Magic the Gathering content creator that focuses on lore and Commander, and I love helping build this community to be a much more inviting and prosperous place.
Are we ready to talk about some of my favorite topics, which are magic and sci-fi?
Yes, this is what we bonded over like years ago now.
How excited for this set have you been?
I am over the moon, pun notwithstanding. I am just supremely hyped for this set. It's my most excited for a set ever since they announced it.
I feel like I'm the sort that looks for science in every Magic set. And so it's really exciting when there's a whole set that's like, hi, you wanted science in your Magic cards? This is a whole sci-fi set with everything you want. I think I've heard a lot of people describe this set saying, oh, yay, sci-fi is coming to Magic.
Right.
And at first I thought myself thinking this too. I'm like, oh, thank goodness sci-fi's coming to Magic. Right. But then the more I thought about it, the more I was like, wait a minute. I feel like sci-fi's been here the whole time. And that was something that we chatted about.
Yes. That's how we just came to this decision to just talk about this in the first place. It's like, yeah, sure. Now they have spacecraft, right? But like, they've had fantastical things within Magic this entire time, other than just like the concept of other worlds and planes and everything. Like that's of course been there from the beginning. But even just like robots, you know, just like
they feel like sci-fi. I feel like robots just feel like they lean towards science fiction.
It's a little more sci-fi than fantasy per se, right? Like just straight hardcore fantasy. We've had robots and artifacts from the beginning.
First, vehicles. Spacecrafts are new in Edge of Eternities, but vehicles have been an artifact type for a long time. And as of recently, vehicles can even be your commander. While not every vehicle feels like science fiction, fictional transport is a big part of science fiction. In science fiction, your car might let you travel back in time. Your spaceship helps you travel through the stars, or maybe your light cycle takes you through the circuits of a computer. Edge of Eternities gives us many awesome spacecrafts, but there are many futuristic-looking vehicles already in Magic the Gathering. I'm obviously drawn to some of the race cars from Aetherdrift. I mean, I did do a whole YouTube video where I did CFD on fictional race cars. Look at the Aether Sphere Harvester and tell me that doesn't look like science fiction to you. Even the Ballista Charger looks like it blends science and magic to have an awesome sci-fi car using wheels made of energy and metal.
So I gotta say, in terms of Edge of Eternities, I am honestly the most excited for being able to actually cast spacecraft and use them against all my foes. I cannot wait to build commander decks with the brand new Jeskai commander deck, which is going to have a spacecraft as the commander, and I'm just so excited. Even the concept of what spacecraft represent to the setting in any sci-fi world are present in Magic the Gathering. If the plucky teenager has their own spacecraft that whisks them on their own heroic adventure, that tells us that the evil empire they're fighting against must wield power that more than matches. So, on Avishkar, where everyone walks around with their own personal automatons and skyships, the console needs something big if they want to impose order. So, it's fitting that the first mythic vehicle in Magic the Gathering was introduced with Sky Sovereign, console's flagship. Just having a large and imposing vehicle hanging overhead is usually enough to deter most attackers, just like how in real life we have battleships and aircraft carriers to impose soft power throughout the world. Sky Sovereign is already a really strong 6/5. But just like the Parhelion 2, the real threat comes from when that soft power turns into a hard power, and the attack triggers on these massive flying symbols of strength lead to game-ending moments. I mean, just that concept, like making vehicles an evergreen mechanic was certainly one of the best decisions I've made, because before, like, vehicles first came out in Kaladesh originally,
Yeah.
right? And it was, only you would find them on Kaladesh, and then eventually they're like, hey, it's evergreen. We'll just make a vehicle whenever we feel like it, which is completely fine. I'm glad that they did, because now we get to see other sets and other worlds who certainly have a concept of a vehicle. Even Theros has a chariot, right? And that's
Yeah.
just considered a vehicle in that world. So if someone gets on it, they crew it, they get these abilities, it all makes sense. So it's
Yeah.
just like artifacts were something that were there initially and now they're kind of everywhere. Vehicles are just an extension of that. That helps represent what technology on that world means, where they're at, and what they consider important.
I think that that's such an interesting point too, because if you think about like stories that were written
Hmm.
long ago,
Right.
vehicles that we now have would have been
Hmm.
considered science fiction in that
Yes.
time period. And
Yes.
I think that there's so many instances where sci-fi has, if if not predicted, at least
Hmm.
inspired some of the modern technology we have. Like you
Hmm.
look at some of the early Star Trek episodes and you're like, ah, I see the inspiration for an
Yes.
iPad or
Yup.
like,
Hmm.
VR technology, all these different things that have
Absolutely.
been inspired
Holograms.
by
Oh yeah.
sci-fi.
What's more sci-fi than giant mecha? Well, that's what Urza thought all the way back in Invasion, when he invented the power armor to be the battlesuits for the planeswalkers. Or take Mana Rig, this giant insurmountable walker that tanks anything thrown at it. Kaladesh introduced the Gearhogs, giant robots to match the Titans, capable of destructive abilities that defy anything found in nature. And look no further than Kamigawa, Magic's most futuristic plane, where mobile suits match their movements with those that reside within them, giving us both legendary vehicles and their pilots who grant their own unique abilities to their giant mechs.
I personally love the way that Universes Beyond sets and cards blend Magic the Gathering and other IPs. Multiple Universes Beyond sets have already woven quite a bit of science fiction cards into Magic the Gathering. Doctor Who, Warhammer, and Transformers are just a few, and they are bringing science fiction into my Magic cards. It's really fun that these are all very different flavors of sci-fi too. I've also heard people argue that Warhammer 40k is science fantasy, which I think is also a way to describe some of the magical science we see in Magic the Gathering sets. It's so cool how, because Magic already jumps between planes and
Hmm.
has all of these interesting settings in like the true Magic sets. I
Right.
know some people have some contentious feelings on this, but I feel like that's why Universes Beyond feels so seamless to me,
Hmm.
because we're able to have these like really beautiful Magic locations. And so
Right.
when you're introducing another location to Magic,
Right.
that like all of the
It's
designers do such a good job of making it
yeah.
feel so real. I think it's
Yeah.
great.
It's just another plane in a way, right? Like it's just like
Yeah.
how can we interpret the world of Final Fantasy, the multiple worlds of Final Fantasy, through a magic lens, right? And turns out, hey, magic just kind of makes sense between all of these different realms in one way or another. So you just take that basic function of mana and tapping lands and artifacts and all that stuff, and you have the foundations for any Magic the Gathering set.
And I also love that the Unfinity Magic the Gathering set was set in space and leans heavily into science fiction. Did they introduce the alien type
I
in
think
Unfinity, or was that Doctor
Yeah,
Who?
I think it would be Unfinity.
Now I have to check.
Yeah, we'll have to check.
It was Unfinity. It
Unfinity.
was
Okay, yeah, yeah,
Unfinity.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
they have the ambassador blurpity blop,
Yeah, there we go.
the alien advisor, and then yeah,
Right.
they had a bunch of aliens in Doctor Who as well.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
aliens have been here the whole time.
The whole time.
My quick little search, it looks like there's at least 36 cards for the card type includes alien.
Yeah.
And so I think we're approaching the point where alien typal deck, I think it's
Maybe.
coming. I think we could have
It has to be like
two-
5-color for sure. There's so many different
for
colors
now.
of them.
For
For
now.
now. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Similarly to vehicles, energy is present on the Avishkar plane. The energy mechanic enables the production of energy counters that can be used to pay costs and get effects. The concept of storing energy to use for different functions sounds suspiciously like science to me. I'm definitely still haunted by my electrodynamics course in college. Energy storage has evolved throughout human history, from simple concepts like storing ice for cooling systems to batteries and pumped hydro storage. The modern electric battery was invented by Volta in the 1800s in human history, and while I don't have an exact date for the invention of batteries in the Magic multiverse, I've definitely noticed batteries and circuits used in the Magic the Gathering cards. I think that another element of sci-fi that's pretty pervasive through a lot of Magic sets is this idea of energy. And I
Yes.
think that, when you look at what we're really doing in
Hmm.
quotes when we're playing Magic is that we're
Really.
these wizards
Right.
getting,
Yeah.
getting these magical things from our mana. Like there's that type of like resource management within Magic. And so
Mhm.
when I was first exposed to this energy mechanic, which felt
Right.
like a
Oh,
different way
I
to
loved it.
you love
I
energy? Okay,
love
I'm
energy.
curious.
It's one of my favorite mechanics ever. I love energy.
It feels exactly like sci-fi to me. This
Mm-hmm.
concept of like almost having a battery where
Yes.
you're able to store this energy because it's like pervasive in a lot of ways. I think
Mm-hmm.
it feels very sci-fi to me.
Yeah. Yes, I liked the idea of having like because you didn't have to worry about someone else's energy per se because you couldn't take it away from someone, right? So it's just like, hey, if they have 50 energy, that's just what it is. But I like the idea that it was your own energy system that you're charging up, saving, choosing to use, etc., etc. And you had to play like this game of management that if you did it well enough, it gave you a slight advantage over your opponent. And if you did it poorly, then well, you would probably lose. And even on just like a sci-fi sort of mindset, it's just like if you can manage your crew, if you can manage your ship and the energy consumption and all that stuff, and there's like a lot of video games where it's about like balancing your energy output in different ways, that can make your ship fly farther or deal more damage or something like that. And it was kind of the same way in Magic. So I really like the energy gaining and consumption mechanic.
I do too. I
Yeah.
wonder if it's something that could be explored in like a future
Mm,
sci-fi set as well,
I hope
because it
so.
definitely, I think that, I mean, we as humanity have always been interested in ways of like storing energy or even like
Mm-hmm.
having mechanical advantage, these types of ways of using technology to make life easier or allow us to do
Yes.
these things. And so I see that a lot in like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, energy. I just think of batteries and I'm like,
Right.
look at
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
It's physics.
There's just science behind it, and even if it's not fantasy and it's more in the real world like batteries, we still Magic still found a way to make it fantasy again
I
somehow.
guess, yeah. I heard this quote once that was like, um, you know, magic is just the science we don't understand yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always
Mm-hmm.
loved that because and I sometimes think about like if I lived in a world where magic was just all around me,
Right.
I still assume that we would want to be using science to explore the world around us.
Right.
We would still be using the scientific method to
Mm-hmm.
understand the magic that we're harnessing. I
Yeah.
think that, like, if you have a society, even if they have magic, they're not going to just be like, well, let's not investigate storms at all.
Oh my
Better
goodness.
not know
Ugh.
anything about
Mm-hmm.
electricity. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
definitely feel like there's still, especially if someone could shoot lightning, people
Right.
would want to know
Yeah.
more about it.
And that actually happens in Magic a lot, like depending on the different world that you're in. And that's one of the awesome parts about Magic is that every new plane operates under different rules. On Avishkar, formerly Kaladesh, ether is just in the air. So that's why that set has a lot of flying airships and a lot of giant constructs to be their mech units and everything. That's because that's just like the setting of that world. But then you have a place like Theros, right? And the height of vehicle technology on Theros is just like a ship, right? But you even have this character Caliphate, who is blessed by Thassa, the god of the seas, to have just this enchanted celestial boat herself, and her boat is basically a submarine. She's able to actually traverse under the water and meet all these different types of fish and everything and go on basically scientific adventures. And she's blessed by the god of the sea to do that. So back to the quote of just like, it's just science that you can't really explain yet. Well, that's kind of the same way on Theros, even, where being blessed
Yeah.
by a real actual god is able to give someone the ability to more or less just make a submarine at the end of the day.
Which, yeah, I mean, I want a submarine. I think they're
Right?
super
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
cool. I want one.
Yeah.
Oh, and speaking of cool vehicles, you
Hmm.
mentioned mechs. I feel like
Yes.
they just, you think of
Yes.
a mech and you think of sci-fi.
Hmm. And I mean, we're talking about universes beyond, right? But like back in original Urza time, he was making power suits, and those were super cool, right? Like that was part of the plan to defeat the Phyrexians, was just like, let's just give these guys some power suits and let them go ham. And like that's just been in Magic from the beginning, basically, right? And then on Kaladesh we have giant constructs. On well, pretty much any other plane that really builds things, we have giant skyscrapers like we do on Kamigawa, or even in even in New Capenna, you have just the concept of a building or a street full of buildings standing up and becoming some sort of large creature with a bunch of abilities, and that in and of itself could be like a mech. We have a lot of concepts in Magic that are already making this constructed thing that's bigger than us, but we're able to somehow pilot it and crew it and just be able to go toe to toe with giant elemental creatures that we usually also see in Magic.
It reminds me a little bit of like the mechanical Godzilla versus Godzilla.
Yes, yes, yes. Despite how fantastical the setting, it's the characters that make the world feel lived in because it's who we can relate to, and there's no ship without its crew. Whether it's the captain and their first mate, or just the child soldier and their giant toy robot, we relate to the humanity of it all. So, when we talk about the sci-fi elements that power these worlds, Magic of course has mana to make the cards appear, but it's the crew and station abilities that make the gameplay feel real. Crew gets our pilots into the chairs of these boats, skyships, and cars until the end of the turn, while station is all about manning every section of the spacecraft, which usually takes time. That's why we have creatures tapping to add charge counters to these cards, because once you get enough crew members manning enough, well, stations, it can just stay powered on for the rest of the game as a creature. Spacecraft is a perfect example of times where the ship itself has just as much personality as the rest of the crew, since it's only the ship itself that has abilities, while not receiving anything from an individual pilot.
This set does a really good job of capturing some kind of classic sci-fi elements and
Hmm.
translating them into Magic cards. I know I really appreciated the warp mechanic. I think it
Yes.
really accurately kind of mirrors this
Hmm.
image we have of warp technology and people moving like great distances by kind of
Hmm.
warping space-time. I love
Yeah.
it.
And then leaving because
I
they get cracked back. Yeah.
Well, that's their warping space-time, 'cause, like,
Yeah.
you think about how the speed of light's kind of our universe's speed limit,
Hmm.
and so when we have these ships that are traversing these crazy distances,
Hmm.
how do like, we've lots throughout sci-fi, we've often thought about how can we travel faster than the speed of light,
Right.
and it actually warp technology is loosely based in real physics. We
Loosely.
have
Yeah.
speculated
Yeah.
that this might be possible, and
Right.
so I think it's fun to kind of capture that on a Magic card.
Hmm.
We've seen like Dyson spheres in the or at
Yes.
least one
Oh,
Dyson sphere in the set, and I was like, "Ah, so
yes.
cool."
And
I
the
also just love black holes, so I
oh my
love
god,
that.
the black holes are everywhere. I love that there's like a space cult based around like black holes, so you just see them using gravity manipulation all over the place, even in the actual like lore blitz and also on the actual cards themselves. The void mechanic is super cool because of that.
It's pretty cool. I
Yeah.
like it a lot. There are so many nods to science fiction already in Magic the Gathering, and now we have an entire sci-fi set with Edge of Eternities. I'm loving the story, and I can't wait to play with all of these cards. Thank you so much for watching. Use the link in the description to pick up some Edge of Eternities cards for yourself, and make sure you follow Kuro everywhere, because he's amazing. Oh, and if you want to talk about more science in Magic the Gathering, I have tons of videos on it. Here's another one right here.